Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by the Gorilla, John Ryder, doing nothing to get rid of that nickname. The beard seems to get longer every time. John, how you doing, mate?
Mate, it's getting a bit of silver in it as well, so it's got a bit of silverback Gorilla before too long.
Very good. It's all part of the plan. You've had this in mind, didn't you, all along?
That's it, mate. Just it's the evolution, isn't
it? The evolution of the Gorilla, evolution of man.
That's it.
Brilliant. I love it. You're going into the Lions then again. It wasn't enough going to fight Canelo in Mexico. You're now going to fight Jaime Munguia, who's, being touted as the next Canelo in Phoenix, which is close enough to Mexico.
You're obviously not up to scratch with your J's and your H's in Mexico, are you?
Oh, sorry. Go on. Correct me.
Jaime Munguia.
Jaime Munguia.
Yeah.
Tell us how that came about, because you've been wanting that fight for a while. Why did it finally get over the line?
Well, obviously the fight with Canelo happened this May. Been a quiet time for me, just enjoying a bit of downtime, relaxing, recouping, and just regaining my composure to go again. And yeah, I mean, this come about. I mean, it was talked about last November time. I ended up fighting Zach Parker because he didn't prevail, but now it has, and I think it's great timing for me to go into this fight against an undefeated fighter in Jaime Munguia. Listen, he's not put a foot wrong yet, but I plan to upset the apple cart come Jan 27th.
You say he's not put a foot wrong. There was a contentious decision, I think. Was it Dennis Hogan he fought? And there was a bit of controversy about whether he should have got the decision or not. Am I getting that right?
Really?
I think it was Hogan. I'd have to double check. Should have probably done it before the interview, like a real professional. But
yeah.
What do you see in him? Because you obviously fancy your chances, and it's based on confidence in yourself. But also, what do you see in him that you feel you can exploit?
Well, he's a taller fighter. I always like fighting taller fighters. He's got a high punch output, high volume work rate. Like I say, he's undefeated for a reason. The only standout win for me on his record is Liam Smith, really. But I don't know what Liam Smith he was fighting. That was Liam Smith after the Canelo defeat. After I didn't know where he was at with Joe Gallagher at the time, because he made the change after that. So I probably should ask for questions myself, shouldn't I? And be more professional and not just wonder. But yeah, I mean that's the standout for me. Obviously, he's left Eric Morales now, and he's now training with Freddie Roach. So it's going to be an interesting time to see him. He's going to be in transition from one style to another, coach-wise. Don't know if they'll try and change him too much, but it's a fight I'm excited for. I haven't watched his last fight with Derevyanchenko. It was a good fight, and listen, it was all down to the last round, really.
And they're talking about Munguia fighting Canelo in May for that Cinco de Mayo weekend. What do you get out of it if you beat him? Because presumably it's not going to be a Canelo rematch so soon. So where does it put you?
I don't really know, to be honest. It just doesn't put Munguia in the ring against Canelo, does it? It might speed up the process of the Benavidez Canelo potentially. But
so you're doing boxing a favour?
Maybe. Obviously, I'd love to get the rematch. It'd be great to go back to Mexico or Vegas or anywhere in the world to fight him again. But I can't, like you say, I can't really see that happening. But yeah, I mean, who else is going to fight if he doesn't fight Munguia? Then I suppose the next one is Benavidez.
Is getting the Munguia fight kind of a vindication of the effort and the performance you put in against Canelo, especially with US boxing people?
I think so, yeah. I think I said after this fight that I couldn't wait to go again. And listen, it was about the right fights. It wasn't about rushing into anything. I didn't want to drop back down to 6 and 8 rounders. I wanted to stay at a level I could operate at, and I believe this is doing so.
And Munguia in Phoenix with that Canelo fight on the line, I know you don't like to think this way, but is there an element of kind of need to stop him or at least be completely dominant to get a decision?
I don't like to think that way going into fights. I like to think that we're all playing on a level playing field. Judges will be fair, fights will be scored fairly, and listen, it's going out to millions around the world, I'm sure. So we know who the real winner is, regardless of what the scorecards read. But no, listen, I've always trusted in the judges, rightly or wrongly, to give a fair judgment of a fight, and I don't go in there relying on a knockout, because I've been there before and I've been looking for a knockout and it's not come. So it's always the times when I've relaxed and just boxed and been sensible that these knockouts have come.
How have you managed to keep that philosophy about it being a level playing field when, for most people, and certainly for you, in the Callum Smith fight, of course, it seemed like you've done enough and didn't get the verdict?
Well, listen, regardless of results on paper, you still can't away from these kind of things a winner. And after the Smith fight, it was obviously a crap time for me. Obviously, believing I should have been the world champion, and that's the biggest kick in the teeth, not having that world title around my waist. But I believe that the real people know in boxing that I won that night, and that is enough for me.
And talking of Callum Smith, he's got a big fight of his own in January, of course, against Artur Beterbiev, a weight up. What do you make of that? I know it was delayed from last year where there was an injury, but he's now ready to go out in Canada. Similar situation to you, I suppose, in that he's fighting a touted operator on away soil.
Yeah, and you know what? I think the timing is never better to beat Artur Beterbiev. I think it's a great timing for Callum with the injury and whatnot on him. So I think it's a great time for Callum to go and become a two-weight world champion.
Do you fancy it? And do you kind of root for him as well, given that it kind of reflects well on you?
Of course, yeah. I mean, listen, regardless, he's a Brit. There's no bad blood. I've got a lot of respect for the Smith family. And yeah, I wish him well. I hope he goes away and puts on the performance of his career and comes away with will be a unified lightweight champion of the world.
There's been a lot of attention on the gym, Matchroom Elite Gym recently with the Conor Ben Chris Eubank Jr. negotiations. Unfortunately, for most fans, it's come to nothing this time around, at least. What's it been like for you seeing all that going on? Has it been a bit of a circus? Not a distraction, of course, but has it been, something that's happening on a daily basis in the gym, talk about it, that kind of thing?
No, listen, I've just been checking what the latest is and where we was at with it, but it's no distraction to me. I've had a fight to focus on myself. I've knew this fight was coming about for a while, so listen, obviously I care a lot about Conor Ben and his career moving forward, but I know that regardless of the Eubank fight, he'll end up with another big fight and which he'll win, and these big fights are still there for him.
Has it ever been talked about a fight between yourself and Eubank Jr. at super middle?
It was talked about a while ago. It was around the Super Six time, but no, never prevailed. But listen, who knows down the line? You never know.
And if you are kind of waiting a bit longer for that world title shot, if Canelo keeps hold of all the belts, after Munguia, what sort of fights are you looking for? What sort of boxes are you looking to tick?
Listen, like the biggest and best names possible. The Plants, the Benavides, these tough Americans, tough Mexican Americans, that just the best fights I can get.
And we saw some news recently, rather disturbing news about Jermell Charlo, who was the last man to fight Canelo. Before we talk about that, I just want to ask you, what did you make of Canelo's performance against Charlo? Did you see, because you said before your fight with him, you felt he was on the slide. You said after the fight, you still felt that. Do you think there was more evidence of it against Charlo? Unfortunately, we got cut off there. I was saying to John off camera, mega payday against Canelo wasn't enough to enhance the Ryder household Wi-Fi, unfortunately.
No, that's it, mate. Just still buying them top-up vouchers from the local shop, getting the receipts, and then typing the codes in for the pay-as-you-go.
I've heard Eddie loves that when he gets those receipts. We were talking about Canelo there, and I said, did you feel the performance he put in against Jermell Charlo was further evidence of his decline?
Not really. I felt like it was dominant enough. He won very, very widely. The only thing that was stopping it was the grandstand finish. I was a bit annoyed at the scorecard, so I felt like I had a better fight with him, and he got scored better, Charlo. So that was a bit of a pill to swallow. But listen, at the end of the day, Canelo showed he's still there or thereabouts. He done what he needed to do, and he done a job.
And some news was broken this week about Charlo, an audio recording of him apparently bragging about assaulting someone in his family, a female in his family. We're not sure exactly who, or I haven't seen it on social media yet. Have you seen any of that?
Are you sure that was him or was that his brother? Because I can't tell the two apart.
Well, yeah, it'd be an interesting way to evade justice, I suppose. But
from
what we're aware, it's Jermell rather than the older brother. The bigger brother, Jermell.
Okay, yeah. Well, listen, it's a shame, innit? It's regardless of getting beat or whatnot. He's still been a great fighter. It tarnishes his reputation, his legacy, and he should be putting hands on no woman, especially a family member. So yeah, I'm not an advocate for beating up women.
I hope not. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not good to hear.
Unless it's Clarissa Shields in sparring, and then
Well,
I
even
think
that shouldn't be coming to the public domain, should it? What goes on behind closed doors should stay behind closed doors.
Have you ever been a victim of that yourself? Have you ever had anyone post sparring footage like when they weren't supposed to?
No, not that I know of. Not yet, anyway.
Okay. Is there anything out there you're worried about coming to the surface?
Not yet, no.
Not sparring wise, anyway.
Yeah.
You and me both, mate. You and me both.